She took her sister's place to marry a millionaire in a coma. He awoke, searching for his real bride. Hello everyone, before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now let us get back to our main character. The rain had been falling since dawn, a steady gray curtain over the Carter Memorial Hospital. Inside, the private wing was quiet. Too quiet for a place meant for the living. Lily Bennett stood outside the door of Suite 801, hugging the thin folder her mother had shoved into her hands. Her palms were damp, her breath uneven. The hallway smelled like disinfectant and cold metal, the kind that reminded her she had no power here. None at all. Behind the heavy oak door lay Adrian Hale, the 34-year-old millionaire heir whose life had been frozen ever since the accident. He was her sister's wealthy fiancé, the golden ticket her family believed would save them all. Her sister Vivian was supposed to be the one in this hallway. Vivian with her perfect smile and perfect posture and perfect ability to do whatever their parents wanted. But Vivian had run. She had slipped away 2 nights ago, leaving nothing behind but a single sentence on a torn notepad: I cannot marry a man who may never wake up. Their parents never looked for Vivian. They looked at Lily instead. Her mother's voice still rang in her ears. You will take her place. You will sign the papers. You will become his wife, and no one will know the difference. Our family cannot survive another scandal. Lily had tried to argue. She had tried to explain that marrying a man in a coma was not a solution, not a plan, not anything resembling a normal life. But they did not listen. They reminded her of the medical debt from her father's long illness, the mortgage payments 3 months behind, the threat of foreclosure hanging over their home like a slow, tightening rope. And so she stood here trembling, trying to gather enough courage to walk into the room of a man she had never spoken to, a man who might never open his eyes again. The door opened before she touched the handle. A doctor in a crisp white coat stepped out holding a tablet. He glanced at her with a professional calm, the kind that made her feel even smaller. You must be Vivian, he said. Lily forced a nod. The lie scraped against her throat like sandpaper. Everything is prepared, the doctor continued. Mr. Hale's condition is stable. The legal ceremony will be brief. The attorney is waiting inside. Your signatures will finalize the marriage. The word marriage struck her like cold water. She stepped inside and the room swallowed her whole. The lights were soft, expensive, warm, but nothing could soften the reality of the man lying motionless on the hospital bed. Adrian Hale looked peaceful, almost like he was sleeping, but the machines surrounding him told the truth. The monitors hummed. The ventilator hissed. A slow, steady beep marked each heartbeat. He was tall, with dark hair that fell slightly over his forehead. His jaw was sharp beneath the stillness, his skin pale but striking. She imagined what he must have looked like, standing, walking, speaking alive. The tabloids had once called him the city's most untouchable bachelor. Now he was untouchable in a completely different way. A man in a suit cleared his throat. The attorney. He opened a leather folder and looked at her with polite distance. Miss Bennett, he said, we appreciate your willingness to honor Adrian's wishes. Before the accident, he signed documents allowing this arrangement to proceed if his fiancé agreed. All that is required now is your signature. Her hands shook as he placed the marriage certificate in front of her. The ink pen felt heavier than it should. The room felt too warm. Her heart pounded loudly in her ears. She looked at Adrian's still face, the rise and fall of his chest, the life trapped inside a silent body. She whispered so quietly she barely heard herself. I am so sorry. Then she signed the papers. The attorney sealed the folder. The doctor nodded with clinical approval. And just like that, in a room filled with machines and strangers, Lily Bennett became Mrs. Adrian Hale. No vows, no kiss, no celebration. Only a lie, a signature, and a man who could not witness any of it. But as Lily turned to leave, she saw something that froze her in place. Adrian's fingers twitched. Just once. A faint movement. A spark of life. She told herself it was nothing. A reflex. A trick of the light. She had no idea the truth behind that single movement. No idea that the man she had been forced to marry would soon wake up, and when he did, he would ask one question that would shatter everything. "Where is my real bride?" Lily did not sleep that night. She sat in the wooden chair beside Adrian Hale's hospital bed, watching the slow rise and fall of his chest, listening to the steady beeping that kept time with her thoughts. She had convinced herself that the tiny movement she saw earlier had been nothing more than a simple reflex, nerves firing, muscles twitching, nothing meaningful. But the moment replayed in her mind again and again. The small tremor of his fingers like someone trying to reach through layers of darkness. Morning sunlight pushed through the curtains in narrow beams. It painted warm stripes across the crisp white sheets and the dark wood floor. Lily rubbed her tired eyes and stood stretching the stiffness in her shoulders. She had no right to stay the night, but no one had asked her to leave, and she had been too afraid to return home. Too afraid of what her family would demand next. A soft knock came at the door. A nurse stepped in holding a chart and a gentle smile. "Mrs. Hale, I need to check his vitals." The title still startled her. Mrs. Hale. A name that was never meant to be hers. She stepped aside as the nurse moved to the bed, checking monitors, adjusting an IV line, taking notes with calm precision. After a moment, the nurse glanced at her. "You look exhausted. You should get breakfast." "I am fine," Lily said, though the hollow feeling in her stomach disagreed. The nurse gave her a warm, knowing look. "He is stable. You do not have to watch over him every second." Lily nodded, even though she stayed rooted to her spot. When the nurse left, silence returned. Lily let out a slow breath and approached the bed. She studied Adrian's face, memorizing details she had barely noticed before. The faint shadow of stubble, the slight crease between his eyebrows, the strength in his jawline even in stillness. He looked like a man who had lived with intensity, someone who had carried entire rooms with his presence long before tragedy forced him into silence. She reached out hesitating, then gently touched his hand. It was warm, solid, very real. "I do not know why you agreed to that arrangement with my sister," she whispered. "I do not know what you were planning or what you were running from, and I am sorry that I am the one who ended up here instead." She let her hand slip away, embarrassed at her own vulnerability. She gathered her bag and turned toward the door, intending to take the nurse's advice and find something to eat. She never reached the door. A low sound broke through the room. Not the monotone beep of the monitor, something different. A breath, a shift. Lily spun around, her heart slamming into her ribs. Adrian's fingers moved again, this time unmistakably. His hand twitched, then curled, then tightened into a faint fist. His eyelids fluttered, as if something inside him was struggling upward, pushing against the weight of unconsciousness. "Adrian," she whispered. His brow furrowed. A soft groan escaped his throat, weak but alive. Lily backed toward the bed, overwhelmed. She pressed the call button, her voice shaking as she spoke. "Someone, please come. He is moving." The door burst open. The same nurse rushed in, followed by Dr. Ramsey, the attending neurologist. They circled the bed with swift, practiced movements. "What happened?" the doctor asked. "He moved," Lily said. "His hand." And he made a sound. The doctor leaned in, checking his pupils, monitoring his breathing, observing every small change with a focused intensity. The machines around him hummed in response, numbers shifting, lines spiking. "He is responding to stimuli," Dr. Ramsey said, his voice steady but urgent. "This is a positive sign, not a full awakening but a beginning." Lily's knees weakened. She caught the edge of a chair, steadying herself. The nurse turned to her. "Mrs. Hale, he may wake soon. It could be hours, days, or longer. But the progression is real." Lily's breath trembled. "He is really coming back." Dr. Ramsey gave a firm, hopeful nod. "Yes, he is fighting." As the staff worked around the bed, Lily stepped back, her pulse still racing. She stared at Adrian, at the man she had been forced to marry, the man who should have belonged to her sister, the man whose first real breath in months had happened in her presence. And she knew with a sudden, sharp certainty that when he finally opened his eyes, nothing in her life would remain simple. Not their secret. Not the lie she signed her name to. Not the marriage that should never have been hers. And definitely not the question he would ask when he fully woke. The sun had climbed higher by the time the room settled again. Nurses moved in and out with quiet efficiency, checking Adrian's monitors, adjusting his IV, documenting every small sign of progress. Lily remained in the corner, her hands clasped tightly together, afraid to breathe too loudly in case it disrupted whatever fragile miracle had begun unfolding. Dr. Ramsey finally stepped away from the bed, removing his gloves with a soft snap. "Mrs. Hale," he said, turning toward her, "we are entering a new phase. His neural responses are strengthening. He may be able to hear you." "Hear me," Lily repeated, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yes. Patients in this stage often process voices, especially familiar ones. Keep your tone calm and steady. Speak about simple things. Let him know he is safe." Safe. The word felt heavy. How could she tell him he was safe when the entire foundation of their marriage was built on a lie? But she nodded anyway. The doctor and nurses left her alone, closing the door softly behind them. For a long moment, Lily just stood there. The steady rhythm of the heart monitor echoed through the quiet room. She walked slowly toward the bed, her steps gentle, almost reverent. Adrian's face looked different now, less frozen, less trapped beneath the weight of unconsciousness. There was tension in his brow, as if his mind was fighting its way upward. She pulled a chair closer and sat beside him. Her hands shook as she reached for his. "Adrian," she began softly, "I know you do not know me. Not really. And I know I do not have the right to be the one sitting here." Her fingers tightened around his unmoving hand. "But the doctors say you can hear me. So I want you to know that you are not alone. You are safe. You are being cared for." She hesitated. Words felt too small for the moment. "You can come back," she whispered. "It is all right to come back." The monitor beeped faster for a brief second, a small spike on the screen. Lily's breath caught. "If you heard me, just know that I am here." A nurse stepped back inside with a tray of fresh linens. She paused when she saw Lily still holding Adrian's hand. "It is a good thing you are talking to him," the nurse said gently. "Patients often respond better when a loved one stays close." Loved one. Lily almost winced at the phrase, but she forced a polite smile. "I just want him to wake up." "We all do," the nurse replied before exiting again. The room fell silent once more. Lily looked down at Adrian. "I wish my being here made sense," she murmured. "I wish this was not built on confusion and mistakes and pressure. I wish I had met you under any other circumstance." As if summoned by her thoughts, her phone buzzed. She pulled it out and saw her mother's name on the screen. Her stomach tensed. She stepped out into the hallway before answering. "Have you done your part?" her mother demanded immediately. No greeting, no concern. "He moved," Lily said, keeping her voice quiet. "The doctor thinks he might wake up." There was a sharp inhale on the other side. "Good. When he wakes, you must make sure he stays committed to the marriage. If he annuls it, we lose everything. Do you understand?" Lily swallowed. "I did not sign up to manipulate him." "You signed up to save us," her mother snapped. "Do not forget your responsibility." The call ended abruptly. Lily stood frozen in the hallway, her heart pounding with guilt and anger and something heavier than fear. Responsibility, obligation, shame. When she returned to the room, she found Adrian's fingers gripping the blanket, a faint tremble moving through his arm. She rushed to his side. "Adrian, can you hear me?" she whispered urgently. His eyelids fluttered. His lips parted slightly dry and tense, as if forming a sound he could not yet release. The monitor beeped faster again. Lily leaned in, her voice trembling. "You are not alone. I am right here. You are safe. You can wake up." His brow furrowed. His breath hitched. Then, in a voice rough as sandpaper, a single word escaped him. "Vivian." Lily felt the air leave her lungs. He was asking for her sister. The woman he believed he was supposed to marry. The woman who ran. Lily stood frozen beside the bed, knowing the moment she feared had finally begun. When his eyes opened fully, he would want answers. And she had none that would not break him. Lily stood frozen beside the bed, her heartbeat thundering in her ears. The single word that escaped Adrian's lips still hung in the air like a haunting echo. Vivian. Her sister's name. The woman he believed he loved. The woman who was supposed to be here instead of Lily. The woman who had run without looking back. Lily forced herself to breathe. She leaned closer, trying to steady her voice. "Adrian, it is all right. You are safe. The doctor is coming." But inside, panic tightened around her chest. The door swung open, and Dr. Ramsey hurried in, followed by 2 nurses. They rushed to the bedside, checking Adrian's vitals, shining a small penlight over his eyes, and adjusting the ventilator tubing. "He is entering a partial awakening, doctor." Ramsey said, his tone calm but focused. "This is an important step. His mind is trying to reconnect." Lily stepped back, giving them room, but her gaze never left Adrian's face. He groaned softly, his eyelids twitching, as if he were fighting through layers of fog. His brow tightened in confusion. His fingers moved again, curling inward like he was reaching for something familiar, or someone familiar. "Vivian," he whispered again, barely audible. The nurse noted it down. "Doctor." Ramsey nodded thoughtfully. "He is naming a significant memory or person. This is common. Do not worry. Eventually he will regain clarity." Regain clarity. The words struck her like cold wind. What would happen when clarity meant realizing she was not the woman he thought he had married? The staff stepped back as Adrian's breathing steadied. His eyes remained closed, but the faint signs of consciousness flickered beneath the surface. "He may drift in and out for a while, doctor," Ramsey said to Lily. "Talk to him. Let him hear your voice." The nurses left. The doctor followed, closing the door behind him. Silence filled the room again. Lily's hands trembled as she approached the bed. She sat down slowly, unsure if her legs would hold her. "Adrian," she said softly, "I am here." His fingers twitched in response, and for a moment she felt a sharp ache in her chest. "I know you are looking for her." Her voice broke slightly. "I know you expected someone else." Her grip tightened around the edge of the blanket. "I will stay until you wake up. I promise." She hoped her voice sounded steady. Inside she felt anything but. A few minutes passed in quiet stillness. Lily watched the gentle rise and fall of Adrian's chest, the flutter of his eyelids, the way his hand sometimes curled as though reaching for a memory. Her phone vibrated again. She recognized her mother's name instantly, and hesitated before answering. "Has he woken fully?" her mother asked without greeting. "No," Lily whispered. "He is moving. Responding." He asked for Vivian. There was a pause, then a sharp exhale of irritation. "Then you need to be Vivian until he is stable. Do you hear me? You cannot let him become suspicious. Mother, I cannot lie to him when he wakes up. He is injured. He deserves the truth. He deserves a wife who will honor the commitment," her mother snapped. "And you signed the papers. You are legally married. That is the truth now." Lily swallowed hard, her stomach twisting. "It was not my choice. But you made it," her mother replied coldly. "And you will follow through. Our family needs this, Lily. Do not ruin everything." The call ended abruptly. Lily lowered the phone slowly. Her hands trembled as she returned to Adrian's bedside. She watched his face, pale but handsome, still trapped between consciousness and darkness. He looked peaceful, vulnerable, unaware of the lies that surrounded him. She sat down again. "I do not know how to do this," she whispered. "I do not know how to be the person everyone wants me to be." She reached out and touched his hand. It twitched again beneath her fingers as if some part of him recognized the warmth. Her breath caught. "Adrian," she murmured. "I am here. I will stay. You are not alone." For a moment his eyelashes fluttered. His lips parted just slightly, like a man trying to speak through sleep. Then with a soft, struggling breath he whispered, "Do not leave." Lily froze. The words were faint, strained, blurred by the fog of unconsciousness. But they were meant for someone. Someone he trusted. Someone he believed was beside him. And she knew that when his eyes finally opened, that trust would become a storm she was not prepared to face. Because the first person he would search for was not her. The next morning arrived with a quiet weight, the kind that settled into the corners of the room and into Lily's chest. She had spent most of the night half awake in the chair beside Adrian, drifting in and out of uneasy rest. Every time he shifted or his breathing changed, her eyes opened immediately, afraid she would miss something important. A soft knock at the door pulled her out of her thoughts. A nurse stepped in with a gentle smile and a tray of fresh linens. "Good morning, Mrs. Hale," she said. "How is he doing?" Lily glanced at Adrian's still form. "He spoke a few words last night. He moved a lot. The doctor said it was normal." "That is a very positive sign," the nurse replied. "He is fighting his way back." Fighting. The word made Lily's stomach twist. She wished she felt worthy of standing here, as if she had earned the right to witness his return to life. But she knew the truth. She was only here because of someone else's choices, someone else's cowardice, and her own fear of disappointing everyone around her. The nurse finished her checks and left the room. The soft click of the door closing left Lily alone again with the quiet hum of machines. She moved closer to the bed, her eyes tracing the gentle tension in Adrian's brow. His breathing had become more controlled, more intentional. His fingers curled at intervals as if his mind was pulling him toward consciousness. "Adrian," she whispered, "if you can hear me, you are doing so well. The doctors believe you will wake soon." She hesitated, then added softly, "I will be here, I promise." As if responding, his fingers twitched again, stronger this time. Lily felt her breath catch. She reached for his hand but stopped halfway, unsure if she had the right. After a moment's struggle with her own conscience, she rested her fingertips lightly against his palm. His thumb moved, brushing against her skin with a faint, almost instinctive motion. A sharp knock interrupted the moment. The door opened, and a tall, sharply dressed man stepped inside. His expensive suit, polished shoes, and clipped tone made it clear that he was someone important. "I am Caleb Hart," he said, offering a quick nod. "Adrian's corporate attorney. I received word that he is showing signs of improvement." Lily straightened, suddenly aware of how small she must look next to him. "Yes, he is responding." Caleb approached the bed with a solemn expression. He studied Adrian carefully, then turned back to Lily. "As his legal spouse, you will need to be prepared for questions once he wakes," Caleb said. "Patients recovering from comas often experience confusion. He may not understand the timeline. He may not remember the ceremony." Lily's heart tightened painfully. "I know." Caleb's eyes sharpened, reading her discomfort. "You do appear nervous." "I am," she admitted. "Everything happened so fast." He nodded slowly as though assessing her sincerity. "Regardless of circumstance, he will need emotional stability during recovery. You must remain calm and supportive." Lily lowered her gaze. "I will try." Caleb was about to respond when a sudden sound broke through the room. A soft, strained exhale. A shift. The rustle of blankets. Lily spun toward the bed. Adrian's head turned slightly on the pillow. His eyelids fluttered, opening by a fraction before closing again. He groaned, the sound rough and heavy as though dredged up from somewhere deep inside him. Caleb stepped back, startled. "He is waking." Lily moved closer, her voice trembling. Adrian, it is all right. You are safe." His breathing hitched. His eyes opened again, just barely revealing a faint glimmer of awareness beneath the haze. "Vivian," he whispered, his voice rasping with confusion and longing. Lily's heart cracked quietly inside her chest. Caleb frowned. "Vivian. That is his fiancé, correct?" Lily's throat tightened. She forced herself to nod. "Yes, she is, the woman he believes he married." Caleb paused, studying her more closely now, as if something did not quite add up. But Lily could not focus on him. She leaned toward Adrian, her voice soft and steady despite the pain beneath it. "I am here," she murmured. "I am not leaving." His eyes flickered again, unfocused, searching for a familiar presence he could not find, and for the first time Lily felt the full weight of the storm she had been pulled into. When Adrian Hale truly opened his eyes, he would not just want answers. He would want the truth, a truth that could destroy everything. Adrian drifted in and out of consciousness for the rest of the morning, each moment a little closer to the surface than the last. Lily stayed beside him, afraid to move, afraid to miss the instant when awareness finally returned to his eyes. Caleb Hart remained in the corner of the room, silent and observant, his expression impossible to read. Around noon, Dr. Ramsey came in with a team of nurses. He checked the monitors, assessed the changes in Adrian's breathing, and watched the faint movements under his eyelids with growing interest. "He is approaching full wakefulness," the doctor said. "His brain activity is increasing. It may happen at any time." Lily felt her stomach twist. Caleb stepped forward. "Is there anything we should prepare for?" "Yes," Dr. Ramsey replied. "Confusion is normal. He may not know the date, the year, or what happened before the accident. Keep voices calm and familiar. Speak slowly. He will need time to piece everything together." Lily's pulse hammered against her ribs. She wished she could disappear into the floor. When the doctor and nurses left, Caleb turned toward her. "Mrs. Hale, you need to understand that whatever he says when he wakes may not be entirely clear. You must not panic." Lily nodded weakly. "I know. I will try." Caleb's gaze shifted toward Adrian. "But I will say this again. When he is fully conscious, we must make sure he remains stable. If something upsets him, recovery could become more complicated." She understood what he was implying. Do not tell him the truth yet. Do not break the illusion until he is stronger. But the idea still made her chest ache. She sat back down beside the bed, her hands trembling slightly. Adrian's fingers twitched again, curling around the blanket. His brow tightened, his lips parting, as if he were fighting his way through a thick fog. "Adrian," she whispered, "I am here." His head shifted on the pillow just barely. His breathing grew heavier, more deliberate. Caleb stepped closer, watching intently. Then slowly Adrian's eyes began to open. Not a flutter, not a flicker, but a true, struggling attempt to see. Lily's breath caught as his gaze flickered across the room, unfocused and glassy. His throat worked as he tried to speak, a strained sound escaping his lips. She leaned in. "You are safe, Adrian. You are in the hospital. You had an accident." His eyes moved toward her, voice settling on her face, still fogged but searching. "Vivian." He breathed again, barely forming the name. The word felt like a punch to Lily's chest. She forced herself to nod, even though the lie felt heavier than ever. "Yes," she whispered. "I am here." Caleb watched her sharply, understanding more than she wanted him to. Adrian blinked slowly, struggling to keep his eyes open. His gaze drifted along the ceiling, then back to her, as if he were trying to place her in a memory he could not quite reach. His voice cracked as he whispered, "Are you all right?" Lily felt her throat tighten painfully. Even in weakness, even in confusion, he was trying to check on someone he believed he cared for. The weight of it pressed down on her like a stone. "I am all right," she said softly. "You are the one who needs to rest. You are safe. You survived." Adrian's eyelids drooped again, exhaustion pulling him back under. But his hand moved, reaching weakly toward her. Her breath stopped. Without thinking, she placed her hand in his. His fingers curled around hers with surprising strength, as if holding on to the only thing he recognized in the world. Caleb looked away, giving them a moment. When Adrian's breathing settled again, and his grip weakened, Lily slowly withdrew her hand. She stared at it, feeling the warmth of his touch still lingering on her skin. He had woken, and the first thing he wanted was Vivian, and the second thing was comfort. The kind of comfort he believed belonged to his wife. Lily stayed by the bed, watching the man who had just returned from the edge of darkness. Soon he would wake again, fully, clearly, and when he did, the truth would not stay buried for long. The afternoon passed in slow waves each hour, bringing Adrian a little closer to full awareness. He drifted between shallow sleep and brief moments of consciousness, his eyes opening for seconds at a time before exhaustion pulled him back under. Every time he stirred, Lily felt her heart catch, unsure if the next moment would bring clarity or questions she was not ready to answer. Caleb remained in the room for most of the afternoon, speaking quietly on phone calls and reviewing documents on his tablet. Every so often he glanced at Lily with a look that mixed concern and calculation, as if he were trying to see beneath the surface of her calm exterior. By early evening, Adrian shifted again, this time with more intention. His breathing changed, becoming deeper, more controlled. His eyelashes fluttered in a way that made Lily sit forward immediately. "Adrian," she whispered. His eyes opened slowly, tired but aware. He looked around the room, blinking several times, as if trying to adjust his mind to the light, the space, the very fact that he was awake. Confusion tightened his brow. "Where am I?" he murmured, his voice rough and thin. "You are at Carter Memorial Hospital," Lily answered gently. "You were in an accident, but you are safe now." He turned his head slightly toward her. His gaze landed on her face, unfocused at first, then narrowing with faint recognition of shape, not memory. "Vivian," he breathed. The name cut through Lily again, sharp and unforgiving. She swallowed hard. "I am here," she said softly, "because the truth would break him in this fragile state." Adrian tried to lift his hand, and Lily reached out to steady it before he could strain himself. His fingers brushed her wrist, weak but deliberate. I thought I lost you," he whispered. Emotion caught in Lily's throat. She could not bring herself to speak, so she simply held his hand, letting him feel the reassurance he needed. Caleb took a small step closer. "Adrian, it is good to see you awake," he said calmly. "You have been unconscious for quite some time. The doctors will explain everything as your strength returns." Adrian's gaze flickered toward the sound of Caleb's voice, then back to Lily again. His eyelids drooped. "Do not leave," he whispered. "I am not leaving," Lily said. And in that moment she meant it, even if the truth between them was a fragile thread threatening to snap. He drifted back into sleep, but this time it was a natural healing rest rather than the fogged unconsciousness from before. Caleb exhaled slowly. "He is waking faster than expected," he said. "But when his memory settles, there will be questions." Lily lowered her eyes. "I know. He believes you are Vivian." Caleb said, his voice measured. "For now that belief is protecting him. But eventually, the truth will surface." Lily felt her chest tighten. "I did not want any of this. I never wanted to deceive him." Caleb studied her quietly for a long moment. "Then you need to decide how you will handle the moment when he finally asks for the truth." Lily looked at Adrian, peaceful for now, unaware of the storm waiting for him. "I do not know," she whispered. But she knew one thing for certain. The man waking in that hospital bed deserved honesty. And the moment he was strong enough to receive it, the life she had been forced into would begin to unravel. Night settled over the hospital, coating the corridors in muted shadows and soft echoes. Lily stayed by Adrian's side as monitors glowed quietly in the dim room. His breathing had grown steadier, his color looked stronger. Every sign pointed to one truth that both comforted and terrified her. He would fully wake soon, and the moment he did, clarity would come with him. She stared at him, studying the gentle rise and fall of his chest. The man in the bed was no longer the silent stranger she had married on paper. He was becoming real. A person with a voice, a history, a heart that had once chosen someone else. And she was the lie waiting for him when he opened his eyes. Adrian stirred again, his hand shifting toward her as if drawn by instinct. His eyelids lifted a fraction. His voice emerged rough and unsteady. "Vivian, please. Stay." Lily swallowed hard. "I am here," she whispered, even though the words burned. He blinked slowly, struggling to focus. His eyes moved across her face, searching for familiarity, but finding only the blurred outline of someone he believed he loved. Someone she was not. "Why? Does it hurt to breathe?" he asked. "You survived a serious accident," Lily explained gently. "Your body is healing. It will take time." He tried to nod. The effort exhausted him. His gaze drifted toward the window, then back to her. "You sound different." Her breath caught. For a heartbeat she panicked that he had realized something was wrong. But his eyes softened with fatigue, not suspicion. "I am tired," he murmured. "Everything feels heavy." "It is normal," she assured him. "Rest is the best thing for you." He closed his eyes, breathing deeply. "Do not leave," he said again, softer this time, almost like a plea. "I will stay," Lily answered. She meant it, even if she knew her presence was built on a foundation of fragile lies. When he drifted back into sleep, Caleb stepped inside the room. His voice was low, controlled. "He is close to full awareness," Caleb said. "When he wakes tomorrow, he may remember more. He may start asking questions." Lily's hands tightened in her lap. "I know." Caleb studied her face with a mixture of caution and sympathy. "You cannot keep pretending forever." "I never wanted to," she whispered. "Then be ready," Caleb said, "because the truth always finds its way to the surface." He left the room quietly. Lily remained beside Adrian, listening to the soft rhythm of the monitor, knowing the calm around them was only temporary. The moment he truly woke, the fragile world she had been forced into would begin to crack, and the man reaching for her hand in the dark would finally learn she was not the woman he believed she was. Morning light crept slowly into the room, brushing the walls with a pale golden glow. Lily had barely slept. She sat beside Adrian, watching each breath, knowing that the peace of the night had been nothing more than the quiet before the truth arrived. Around 7 in the morning, Adrian stirred. This time the movement was stronger, more intentional. His fingers tightened around the blanket. His brow furrowed. His eyes opened with a clearer awareness than before. Lily's pulse raced. "Adrian," she said softly. He blinked, adjusting to the light. His gaze moved around the room, slow and searching, then settled on her face. It lingered longer than it ever had. Not confused, not lost, but focused. "You," he whispered, his voice raspy but sure. "You are not Vivian." The words hit like a sudden drop in the air. Lily's breath caught. "Adrian, please, listen." There is an explanation. He tried to sit up, wincing as pain shot through his ribs. "Where is she? Why are you? Why were you here?" His voice shook with hurt and disbelief. The monitors beeped faster, reacting to his rising panic. Lily raised her hands gently. "Please calm down. You just woke up. Your body is still healing. You cannot strain yourself. Tell me the truth," he demanded, his voice cracking. "Where is Vivian? Why did you pretend to be her?" Her eyes stung with tears she had held back for days. "I did not pretend. Not at first. Your doctor assumed I was her. I did not correct him because everything happened so quickly." "That is not an answer," he said, his tone sharp with betrayal. "Why did you marry me?" Lily looked down, shame pressing heavily on her chest. "My parents forced me. They wanted to protect our family from debt, from losing our home. Vivian ran away 2 nights before the ceremony. They told me it was the only way." Adrian stared at her, breathing hard, his expression tightening with hurt. "So I was left with a stranger." "You were left with someone who did not want to lie," she said softly. "Someone who tried to tell them it was wrong. I never meant to deceive you. I stayed because you were alone in this room, because you were fighting for your life." His gaze softened, just a little pain giving way to something more complicated. "You stayed." "Yes," she whispered. "Every day. Every night. Not because they forced me, but because I wanted to. Because you deserved someone who would not walk away." Silence settled between them, heavy and fragile. He looked down at his hand, the same hand that had reached for her again and again while he drifted in darkness. "I thought I was reaching for Vivian," he murmured. "You were reaching for comfort," she said gently. "And I gave it because I cared." He closed his eyes, shoulders sinking slightly. "This is a terrible way to meet someone." She almost smiled, but her voice trembled. "I know." After a long moment he opened his eyes again, clear, steady, and unexpectedly calm. "Lily, I need time to process what you have told me. But I can see you did not do this out of cruelty. You did not want to trick me." "No," she whispered. "Never." "I believe you," he said quietly. "But we cannot live with a lie." She nodded. "I understand. Whatever you decide, I will respect it." Adrian looked at her for a long time. Then he spoke in a tired but steady voice. "Let us start with honesty. No lies, no pretending, no contract. If you choose to stay, it must be as yourself." Lily felt a tightness in her chest loosen for the first time since this nightmare began. "I can do that," she said quietly. "I can stay as myself." He nodded slowly, exhaustion pulling at his features again. "Then stay. Just stay while I recover. We will talk about everything when I am stronger." "I will stay," she said, her voice warm and steady. "As myself." Adrian leaned back against his pillow, his eyes closing peacefully this time. No contracts, no roles, no lies. For the first time, their story was beginning honestly, and Lily knew that whatever came next, judgment, forgiveness, or something neither of them expected, it would be real.